My presentation is a mixed method study and it's two parts, so be patient with me, but we're looking at locus of control orientation and Pearlin Mastery Scale scores for undergraduates attending Hispanic-Serving Institutions. This was an NSF grant funded project, so obviously any opinions, findings, conclusions, etc. do not necessarily reflect the NSF. So to get started, the Hispanic Latinx population in America as of 2016 was 56.6 million. They are now the largest racial and ethnic minority group in the country. As of 2016, 47% of Hispanic high school graduates were enrolled in college, and this is a significant increase of 15% from 1999. However, the six-year college graduation rates for the Latinx students are among the lowest in the nation, so their retention rates are extremely low, which is what spawned this research. So I'm going to talk a little bit about cultural influences for the Hispanic Latinx population. So collectivism, that is when the goals of the group are given more importance than personal goals. There is, of course, an emphasis on conformity and harmony, and that is the more traditional Eastern view of collectivism. However, under convivial collectivism, this is a subcategory of collectivism. This is what's prevalent in Hispanic and Latinx populations, and this is not limited to just those in South American or other countries. This also fares well for those in the US. The idea is to maintain those familial and social relationships. Socialization and social respect is a big part of it, as well as social capital and resource building and communal coping. So just a couple of aspects of convivial collectivism is familismo, which is an emphasis on the importance of family goals. So the family is central. Then we have simpatia, which is the polite, agreeable friendliness, the kindness that you often see with the Latinx populations. It is most characteristic of the big five personality trait, what we know is agreeableness. And then respeto, which is respect for family members, especially elders, polite behavior. And this is different than familismo in the sense that this is more of a hierarchical social order as opposed to centered around that family. So I wanted to look at locus of control, and this is a psychological construct developed by Rodin in the 1960s. Anybody who's familiar with psychology or the social sciences should have a fairly good understanding. It's the degree to which people feel they are in control of their choices. Locus of control is one of the many cultural lenses that we use to view the world. Locus of control, of course, occurs on a continuum. So internal locus of control is the degree to which the environment is influenced by the self. External is the degree to which the environment is influenced by outside forces. So just to give a little bit better explanation of that, those high in internal locus of control are going to be characteristic of those individualistic cultures, the United States, Canada, some European countries. In those high in this range feel more empowered in their ability to alter and change their situations. They have control over their environments and they can make choices in which that will serve them in the way that they need. Those high in external locus of control are typically found in those collectivistic cultures. So China, Japan, Korea, Southeast Asia, some in South American countries, and those high in that range feel a little bit less empowered and feel like things are left up to fate, chance, or luck. Now, several studies have demonstrated that a high internal locus of control is correlated with a lot of other positive outcomes, such as academic performance, achievement, overall wellness, overall lower stress levels, satisfaction with life, and metacognition, which is thinking about thinking. Health and wellness studies have found that the Hispanic Latinx population in the healthcare setting exhibit high external locus of control. However, there's very little research that has been done on the Latinx population and locus of control orientation in the higher education setting. So to start, this is a two-part study. For the first set of methodology, what we did was we held a conference in the Dallas Community College District. So they're system-wide. And what we did was we had focus groups and interviews of students, faculty, staff, and admin. Afterwards, we transcribed and compiled a code book of concepts and constructs related that we had found during that conference. So what we did after that is we developed and distributed a survey in 2018. My focus was on the student populations. We had students from 14 regional Hispanic-Serving Institutions. HSIs, just so you know, are institutions in higher education here in America with a minimum of 25% or more of the undergraduate population identifying as Hispanic. We had a total of 15 colleges and universities here in my region, the southern region of the United States, coming out of Texas, New Mexico, and Colorado. We had 464 usable data points for that. Now, what we did was add in 4 questions to this very large survey that we had sent out that looked at a bunch of different cultural concepts related to Hispanics and Latinx. This part was for the locus of control. You can look and see the questions. Now, these were only face valid. They were constructed by myself and my team just as an investigative tool to see what might happen. It was measured on a 5-point Likert scale. We did a Mann-Whitney-U to see if there were any significant differences. You can see here's my data here. I won't spend a lot of time on that just to make sure I get through everything. But what we found was the expected results based off of the literature is that Hispanics should have a low internal locus of control, high in the external locus of control. What our initial results found is that they were high in internal and external. However, the sample was limited and our questions were not empirically validated. They were only face validity. So what we did was we had a second round of surveys. It was sent out in 2019. We kept it a little bit more regional here in the Texas Panhandle, and we ended up with 829 usable data points. Instead of using constructed questions, we decided to put in a valid and reliable measure, and I chose the Pearlin Mastery Scale. It is a 7-question assessment developed in the 70s by Pearlin and another. And mastery, as Pearlin defines it, is a global sense of control or belief that one has control over future important life circumstances. These are the questions that are on part of the Pearlin Mastery Scale. So things like, there are no way I can solve some of the problems that I have. I have little control over things that happen to me. As you can see that a lot of these questions are very similar in concept to that of locus of control. However, the description of mastery is a bit broader and more encompassing construct. So locus of control has more limited focus on the control and conditions that individuals regard as important determinants. However, mastery is more broadly defined. So for the second set of results, we decided to use a multiple regression to see if there were any significant predictors. And we found no significant differences between Hispanics and non-Hispanics relating to the construct of mastery. There are also no significant differences between gender, first-gen status, type of school, etc. Now for the discussion, the mastery finding, although we did not find significant differences, is actually a positive outcome because it shows that students have a more similar orientation and makes providing support for them easier. It also provides secondary support for the LOC findings in the sense that having a strong sense of mastery is also closely correlated with internal locus of control. The why to all of this research is understanding those cultural norms that the Hispanic and Latinx population may need when it comes to the higher education setting. So this research has started to work towards, it's the first of its kind, establishing those important cultural baselines for undergraduate Hispanic students at HSIs in regards to constructs relating to locus of control and those constructs relating to mastery. Now, some of the limitations, obviously, we still need further verification. We still had a very limited sample, although we had a large number of data points for the second survey, it was very regional. In addition, at some point, I would like to implement a valid and reliable measure of locus of control for confirmation or disconfirmation of our initial results. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for having me. Does anyone have any questions?